All right, Adam Mares, let's get into our power rankings. Best players that came from relative obscurity. I didn't want to do like best players from the second round. I feel like people have done that. Best players that went under like 15th in the draft, but like a player that came into the NBA and generally NBA fans didn't necessarily know who they were, but then all of a sudden, and maybe like we ramped up to the draft, they started to kind of know. But not a guy like Devin Booker went late in the draft, like 13th in the draft or whatever. But he went to Kentucky. People knew him already, so I don't think we would count him. Chris Paul obviously went high in the NBA draft, so we wouldn't count him. And guys like that. Number one, I'm going with Kawhi Leonard. I don't think a lot of people knew who he was coming out of San Diego State. That's my number one guy. That one's pretty easy. He gets traded for George Hill.
What pick was Kawhi Leonard again? Do you have that pulled up?
I believe he was
15th.
15th. Yeah. 15th in the 2011 draft, and his teammate Paul George, I think, was in that one.
So with him, it's not that nobody was talking about Kawhi; it's that nobody was talking about him as a 2-time Finals MVP and one of the 5 best players in the NBA for a 5-year stretch.
Distance he rose.
Yeah, he rose quite a distance. So I think that's a really good one. Definitely belongs.
Kawhi Leonard, number one for me. Number two, Giannis. I think that's a guy we started to kind of hear.
Already at 4. Woo.
We started to hear. Well, I'm going reverse order. I'm going 1 and then 2 because I think it's easier to.
Oh wait, that was 1. Kawhi Leonard was 1. Oh my goodness! I'm outraged. Are you kidding me? That was 1.
I got your boy
5.
on the list.
At 5, I thought, oh my boy, this is ridiculous. Okay, all right, here we go. All right, 1, Kawhi Leonard, 15th pick. Yeah, how crazy.
Best players that came from relative obscurity. So ranking them as far as how good of a player they are.
How many MVPs does Kawhi have again?
2 in the finals.
In the final. Okay, finals MVPs. All right. Okay. Makes sense. 15th pick. Wow. Giannis number 2. I can't even. First of all, doing a list in regular order, I can't believe it. And then those 2. All right. I was fully supportive of your list for a second there.
You're
in the hot seat, Nick. You are in the hot seat.
Your arbitrary ways we have to go about these lists.
Giannis number 2. Okay, I think
Giannis number 2.
I think he is number 2.
When the draft started like building up, all of a sudden people knew Giannis's name. People were like, "Oh, he could be this guy," but he was nobody, right? Like he just came from this gym where he was playing against guys that looked like they were 8th graders and like this, and all that. So coming from obscurity, I think that one is an incredible rise to the top, considering what he just did. Number 3.
You're going to change it live because of how I'm outraging right now. First of all, there's no number you can put him out that you've already ruined it. I'm already going to flame you as soon as you say this. But go for it. I want to hear it.
But Nikola Jokic is my number 3.
I think goodness.
He obviously rose from obscurity, complete like 2nd round pick obscurity, like absolutely incredible the way that he has risen.
Nick, he's the MVP of the league. The most valuable player. The first time that's ever happened.
Giannis has won 2 MVPs.
All right, he was taken 13th. We're talking about the 41st pick. It's never happened, the 2nd rounder to win the MVP. And now here, when we talk about obscurity, here. He was drafted during a commercial. At least when Kawhi Leonard and Giannis were drafted, they were talking about him for 10 minutes. They did the interview. They called him in. He was asleep. And there was a commercial going because it was the 2nd round. That's called obscurity. In fact, when they were picked, they were like, this guy's in obscurity currently. That's what they said. This is insane that you would have him number 3. This is insane.
I think Kawhi and Giannis are better players than Jokic.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair.
So that's why I have them higher.
Times? Are they 3 times higher? They were picked 3 times sooner. 3 times up. They were known. There were scouting reports on these guys. There weren't even scouting reports on Jokic.
Man.
Obscurity. We might have to pull up the word. I'm opening up Webster's dictionary to make sure I understand the word the same way that you do.
Number 4.
Hold on. It's the state of being unknown. Yep, that's what I thought it meant.
You can put a lot of people in these unknowns, though, right? Like unknown to NBA people.
We're posting this on Twitter, right?
Sure. Yeah.
We're posting this on Twitter. Make sure it says Nick's list, not Adam's list. I have a reputation to uphold.
Number 4, Rudy Gobert. He was a late pick. Talk about being drafted during a commercial. He rose to become now, he's probably going to make the Hall of Fame just based on Defensive Player of the Year awards alone. And I don't know if you could do a list like this without putting that guy on there because of who our boss is.
27th pick. I wouldn't mind if he goes back to obscurity, to be honest. But yeah.
And now everyone talks about him every single time he steps on the floor, for better or for worse for him. Number 5, I had a hard time with this one, and I had a hard time with the top 3. I went Fred VanVleet. Like going from obscurity, like that guy was in the G League, and not a lot of people knew him. To now, the way that he's grown, developed, he's averaging like 20 points in the finals and making all that, and now he's making a big contract and all that kind of stuff. So couple other guys I considered, Paul George.
No, hold on. Right, we're not getting out of here. Because Fred VanVleet would have been a great honorable mention. I mean, he would have been great.
Okay.
If this list had 15 players, I think Fred VanVleet would have definitely been on my list. But how many championships does he have? He has one, right?
He got one.
He has one. Would you say he's the best something of this era? Is there anything you would maybe say the best or
the best player that won a title with a G League that is now playing in the NBA?
There you go. Because we happen to have what I would say is a best defensive player of a generation and a 3-time NBA champion and a guy who was on a team that won 73 games, who, by the way, was taken in the second round of the 37th pick, and Draymond Green.
But he went to Michigan State. I feel like people knew him, right? Like,
okay, all right, that's fair. That's fair.
I kind of took it a little bit. Took some people out of it because I even consider Donovan Mitchell because he's kind of in that mid round. Yeah. But I feel like people knew him. He played at Louisville.
I think that's kind of fair because Michigan State has big, high profile this or that. Although I will say Wichita State, I remember those teams it's weird because they are obscurity. Like that was a small school that he helped put on the map. But at the same time, they were very high profile. They were kind of like the new Gonzaga for a short minute there, where they were a small school, but everybody knew him. They saw him coming.
Yeah, Ron Baker. You got to remember that guy.
Of course, man.
He's the legend. Jimmy Butler I also considered. Jordan Clarkson was another name I really considered for this list. Same kind of vein as Fred VanVleet, second round. Then he went to the Lakers, and now a bunch of people knew him, dated a Kardashian, and then everybody knew him.
I can't wait to see the replies on this tweet. I can't wait.
Kawhi, Giannis, Jokic, Gobert, VanVleet. That's what I end up with.
I love it, man. I love it. As I like when you do the list. We might have to have you do the list every week now, so I just get to
we'll
rip
just call
on
it
you.
Nick comes up with a bad list that Adam hates. That's what we'll call it every week.
So funny.
There you go, guys. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA. If you haven't, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, check out our ultimate mock draft coming. Go subscribe to the feed right now. The ultimate mock draft. It was the NFL draft. Now we're doing the NBA. Everybody makes a pick. There's going to be guys joining us. Brian Scalabrine joining us. Ryan McDonough joining us. David Locke's going to host it. Our Locked On NBA draft guys will be part of it. So go subscribe to that feed. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA.